An ugly giant golem is wreaking havoc in the city, and Sujiu, a swordsman with godlike skills from another realm, wants to put a stop to it because it sounds like a blast. A girl informs him that no one will express gratitude for its defeat, and they should make a run for it. Sujiu is left puzzled, but she plainly states that if they meet their end, it's game over. The story begins in a peaceful city where people lived happily. One day, some people were seen running out of a building. A red light was seen inside. Soon after, an earthquake struck the city. A dome-shaped building was destroyed by the earthquake. A flashback showed a girl named Yuno, the distant Talon, living in Nagan Labyrinth City. She attended Magic Academy, where she learned about words arts. Her teacher explained that it was a term for techniques that could change various phenomena using only the will in their words. He also explained that everyone in this world could use that power, even though there were differences between the races' language systems. Yuno wasn't really paying attention to class because she was checking out her classmate. The girl noticed Yuno and smiled at her, surprising her. After class, the girl, named Lucel, came up to Yuno and asked if she was busy. Yuno denied it, and Lucel asked her to teach her some force arts. Yuno was confused by the request, but Lucel explained that Yuno was great at it. After some persuasion, Yuno agreed to her request. Yuno then explained that Nagan Labyrinth City was full of scholars and explorers. She revealed that the city was built from the center of the great labyrinth of Kiazuna, the self-proclaimed Demon King. The labyrinth was filled with mechanical golems and treasure. A group of golems started coming out of the great labyrinth of Kiazuna. Some men tried to fight them off, but the golems were too powerful. Yuno was in the middle of the city, teaching Lucel some magic. After a short lesson, Lucel practiced everything she had learned, and cast a spell to make some pebbles float and spin. The girls then decided to go find some food while talking about their world. They talked about how the Central Kingdom had decided to crown Sephite of the United West Kingdom as queen and create Auriatia. The girls' friendship was growing stronger, and as they walked, Lucel asked Yuno if she had a crush on anyone. Yuno didn't answer. Then the two girls decided to go outside the city and sit down while they ate some snacks. Lucel mentioned stories about the great labyrinth that had so many secrets and relics that they could find. In short, if they managed to find something valuable inside, they would be given it. Yuno agreed, and Lucel took this opportunity to lean her head on Yuno's shoulder. Yuno first looked at her but smiled, thinking that she didn't have to be afraid anymore. The real Demon King was dead, and the age of fear was over. Now she and Lucel would be able to dream about a future full of happiness. However, things didn't go as planned. As the girls decided to go back to the city, they took their first steps inside. A huge earthquake struck. They fell to the ground, and Yuno could only watch as buildings collapsed, crushing everyone around them. The girls looked around in shock and started to listen for some sounds. Suddenly, they saw a light behind them. The next moment, Yuno saw a metal golem stomping on Lucel while pulling her arm. Yuno could only call Lucel's name. As she watched the golem pull Lucel's limbs one by one, the golem kept pulling her bit by bit until the girl could no longer hold on. Yuno activated her girl mode and started running and screaming, leaving her friend behind. She saw a survivor in the middle of the street begging for help, but the same woman was crushed by a very large golem. Yuno put on her sonic shoes and ran in another direction. She managed to get out of the city and looked back at the destruction. Instead of feeling relieved, Yuno knelt down with a feeling of despair. She wished she had met the same fate as her friend. A golem was strolling among the ruins, making Yuno realize something. Even though the Demon King was actually dead, no one got that it was the end. Out of nowhere, she heard a noise and noticed that the golem was chasing her. She freaked out, trying to survive and beat it using her magic power. The golem suddenly collapsed, leaving her puzzled. She approached it, wondering why it could lose with just that attack. She started to panic, realizing that she could have used her power to save Lucel. More golems showed up to attack her, and Yuno used her magic again to beat the golems, but failed. She started to back off, accepting her defeat. She just wanted to be killed. She told the golems to kill her as her last request, and they all attacked her. But suddenly all the golems were sliced into several parts. She looked around as she saw every golem fall. At that moment, she heard a man named Sujiu next to her. He asked her if she wanted to die, but she was confused with everything that had happened. No one could cut the golem's armor. Sujiu yelled her back to reality by asking the same question. She panicked and explained that she didn't want to die. Sujiu called her weird, but thought it would be pointless if she died here when everything was becoming fun for humans. Yuno was confused, but Sujiu started to walk away, mentioning that after everything was gone, he would be free to do whatever he wanted. After seeing his sword, Yuno realized that it should be impossible to slice a golem with a cheap training sword. She suddenly asked if he was a visitor. Sujiu mentioned that everyone called him that. He kept walking away, and Yuno realized that all the golems around her had been defeated. Sujiu was impressed that machines also existed in this world, but even though there were many of them, they couldn't match his sword. Yuno was confused. When he picked some leaves and ate them, she explained that the leaves were poisonous, and he recognized it from the taste. He asked if she brought food, but she just answered that no matter how hard he ran, he would die in this place. Sujiu was puzzled by those words, but she just angrily pointed at the big golem, asking if he could also slash it in one slice, that legendary level golem. Actually, the labyrinth was created to destroy the real Demon King. Yuno started to panic again, but Sujiu sneaked under her skirt and used his foot to push his sword to the golem behind her. Yuno was confused about how he could use such a technique, but Sujiu was more interested in food. He asked her for food, mentioning that he hadn't had breakfast. She replied that she had some travel rations, but they didn't taste good. Sujiu thought she was hard to talk to and told her to give him some. He called it a change that made her confused. He replied that he would drop the big golem as part of the deal. He revealed that he would do it, but now he would do it for food. Sujiu analyzed the golem, making his psychopath instinct start to emerge, and he thought this would be fun. Yuno asked about Sujiu's technique, where he came from and who he was. Sujiu just answered that he was the last Yagyu on Earth, which is the oldest and famous sword art school in Japan. We then found out that Sujiu was called a visitor because he came from another world. Sujiu asked about her word arts like he wanted to learn, but Yuno replied that visitors cannot use this kind of power. She mentioned what she learned at school. The visitor's world was built based on physics laws, therefore they can only use words as sound to speak. Sujiu was initially confused, but then realized that they were not speaking Japanese. In short, visitors cannot use it because their brains are built differently. Sujiu decided to leave this topic because all he needed was his sword. Yuno warned that he would die, but he didn't care. She explained that no one would thank him for killing the big golem, and they had to run. Sujiu was still confused, but he just replied that if they died, it would be the end of everything. But Sujiu was stunned. The only way for this to be the end was if the legendary golem was invincible. Those words shook Yuno's heart, made of glass, remembering her friend. She regretted leaving her and said that she couldn't ask Sujiu to fight for her. But Sujiu didn't care about her. The golem stared at him in the wrong way, and he thought this was fun. The two monsters stared at each other, and Sujiu started to run forward. He charged the big golem and wiped out the small golem that charged at him. On his way, with a quick swing, every golem turns into slices of metal meat. Yuno can't believe how fast he is. The big golem uses its left arm to punch him, creating a huge puff of smoke, but Sujiu jumps before the punch lands and runs up its arm. The golem activates its traps and summons even more small golems, but Sujiu doesn't back down. He actually jumps down to pull the golems to fall and sticks his sword into the big golem while sliding. He jumps and slashes the small golems while using their bodies to propel himself into the air, managing to reach the shoulder of the big golem. The big golem swings its arm, launching Sujiu into the sky. The golem opens its chest and starts chanting a huge fire spell that destroys everything around. Yuno's eyes are wide open. She can't believe that a golem that big can use such destructive magic. She convinces herself that this was too reckless. Not only was the city fried, but it also destroyed Sujiu. But suddenly, the golem's head is cut off and falls. Sujiu appears on top of it, confusing Yuno, who doesn't understand what happened. Sujiu mockingly thanks the golem for giving him a free path to victory. The golem tries to attack him again, but Sujiu uses his most powerful counter technique to cut off the golem's arm. The arm then continues to fly due to momentum and destroys the right shoulder of the golem, which is where the core is located. As the golem slowly falls, Sujiu slides down, Revealing this technique is called Mutodori. This makes every small golem deactivate and fall to the ground. Yuno can't believe Sujiu really managed to kill it. However, she doesn't understand why the Great Labyrinth started moving today. She wonders if it reacted because Sujiu is here, or maybe Sujiu activated it on purpose because he wanted to fight. Sujiu comes back and claims this was more fun than cutting an M1. She's confused, but Sujiu just replies it's a tank. She freaks out, asking how he did it, because nobody could kill those golems. However, Sujiu just lays out all the golem's shortcomings. Its legs were hugging the ground too tight, the waist was carrying too much load, the chest was essentially a fire breather, and it took the first swing with its left arm. That just means the core was tucked away in the right arm. Sujiu starts to split, but she halts him to pass over the chow. He gives her thanks and digs in immediately, while she's brooding over her distaste for tough cookies. She feels like strong characters made her life seem puny. She views herself as a softie in this kind of pickle who can't deny her frailty, and that's why she's got to chase a new ambition. Sujiu is cleaning his plate and asks where he should jet off to for some thrills. Yuno directs him to Auriasia because it's the grandest human nation. He inquires if there are any hard hitters there, and she affirms. Sujiu grins like a loon, and Yuno lets slip that Auriasia is whipping up something major. They're corralling the mightiest heroes in the world. Sujiu is jazzed about it and starts hoofing it. However, Yuno reckons that she'll stumble upon someone there who's tough enough to knock out Sujiu in Auriasia. She contemplates every legendary hero in that country who should be tough enough to take him out. She offers to guide him because Auriasia won't be suspicious of him since she's a scholar from Nagan. Before setting off, Sujiu asks for her nickname. She responds, "Call me Yuno," she said. Yuno the Distant Talon. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see you on the next episode. Love you guys.